How's it going, everybody? This is Henry Fleischer here from the Cannabis Dispatch, also the CBD Business Networking Group, and I have a very special guest today. I have Ben Gonzalez from Premium CBD Labs. So, Ben, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I am the Vice President of Business Operations for Premium CBD Labs. We're a third-party business that does lab testing services to the hemp and CBD industry. So we test for, everything from the potency of the hemp, how much CBD, THC, CBN, CBG is in there, to all the contaminants like microbes, heavy metals, mycotoxins, solvents, pesticides, things like that.
Oh, cool. So, how long have you been working at Premium CBD Labs?
So I've been there since July of 2019.
Oh, cool. And what was it that made you want to get into the CBD field?
I didn't.
Wait, what?
I didn't. I literally fell into this. I had a friend of a friend who was starting a lab and needed some help with the business administration of things. And I had a pretty significant background with marketing and business operations, running teams. And I signed on, and I just fell into this.
So. Oh, you felt, so you didn't even, it wasn't premeditated. It was just just happened like that.
Yeah.
Oh, damn. And when you first joined too, what was the toughest thing that you went through?
The learning curve. There's a lot to know about this industry, and from the scientific side especially, you want to make sure that you're getting accurate, reliable information that's verifiable. And there are a lot of people who think they know everything and don't, and then there's enough people who don't know a lot that know that they don't know a lot, and then there's even more people who know a lot and think they don't know anything. And I'd rather work with the people who know a lot and don't think they know anything, because it's always a learning process. And I'm not a chemist, but I've learned a lot about the chemistry of this plant in the past year and a half, 2 years. Things like that are just the regulation side of this is a whole other learning curve in general too, and it keeps changing. So the fact that it's constantly moving and it's constantly changing, and that there's so much information to understand and soak up is both challenging and exciting, I would say.
Yeah. It's like we're in the wild, wild west of the industry.
Still, yes, we are.
Yeah. Is there anything that you would do differently if you had to start from day one again?
I might have chosen some tasks that I would have put into different order, but no. I mean, like, I think everything that's brought me here to this day today is where I want to be. I mean, like, that this is, I mean, of course there's mistakes you make along the way, and there's things you learn, but without those you don't learn anything. So I don't know. I don't think I would change anything. I think I would just have maybe done things a little bit differently. Or maybe learn some lessons a little bit earlier.
Yeah, I think too, it's like whenever somebody they're hesitating to get started in anything, they're always worried about making mistakes, but it's a necessary part to grow. You have to learn some things. Like, there's always a lesson in everything.
For sure.
So yeah, I agree with that. And what would you say is the toughest part about being in this business in 2021?
In 2021?
Yep.
The toughest part about being in this business for the past year and a half has been, or for about the past year, has been the inability, or I'll say the inability to work face to face with people. When I first started in this industry, I realized how much of this was face to face dealings with people, and being able to look somebody directly in the eye and give a handshake and things like that. So I think that's been the greatest challenge. And I see things are opening up right now, so I'm seeing that changing quite a bit. So that's been the biggest challenge in the past year. Overall, the stigma around the plant and how it's affected regulations and the law, and especially banking. those are probably the biggest hurdles in this industry right now.
No, it's true. I know we had the bank act passed like a few weeks ago, so like it looks like we're heading somewhere with that. We'll see though.
Let's hope.
Yep.
It seemed like the measure fell flat, but we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, there's still like this industry that hasn't even matured yet. It's already really big. So whenever all the regulations pass, it's gonna really be something interesting to see.
For sure.
Yep. And another thing too, like if the customer was to choose between your business and three others just like yours, why would you suggest they give you a try first?
Um, there's a lot of great labs out there, and there's a lot of good people working on the lab testing side of this industry, and I'm fortunate enough to be friends with some of them. Why should they choose us over other people?
Yeah.
And I hate that question.
So I didn't mean...
I don't purport to be better or worse than anybody. One of the things that's been really great about our lab in particular, we were started by scientists, we're run by scientists, and we've got a real hard dedication to trying to aim for clinical standards on things that are just, when we saw the Wild West of what was going on, that's why we started our lab, was to bring about a bit of a higher standard, if you pardon the pun. And so that's thing one. I think thing two is we answer our phones. We care. We want to be there for our clients. We've got a very client-centric view of the way things work for a business and the way we should respond to our clients and to the people who are seeking services. We want good, reliable information out there. We want to, I don't know, I think that some of the core tenets of our company are the ideas that we're not just a lab to test your stuff. We want to make sure that people have good information about the science behind this, about the regulations, about how they're changing, about what people are seeing in the industry and how this works. And that we're also advocates for positive, realistic change, for things that are going to stabilize the market, and stabilize the industry and help it grow.
Oh, of course. And going back to, because you mentioned too, once COVID hit, affected the way you communicate too, without having the in-person handshakes. But how else has COVID affected business as well too?
It's slowed things down a little bit, but it's not as bad as I would have expected. What kind of became a saving grace of this industry is that in a lot of states, cannabis in general became business. So it hasn't been that bad for us compared to other businesses per se.
Yeah, I think cannabis is definitely a product that is recession proof. Even in good times or bad times, people will still use it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What's the number one way you guys currently bring in new clients or customers?
I'm sorry, I had a bit of noise here. What's the number one way in which what?
In which like you onboard new customers or clients?
Word of mouth has been really powerful. Our clients love us, so they tell their friends and they tell the people that they're working with. The fact that we interact with people online and not just post ads, that's a big one. Like actually interacting with people and getting involved in conversations, and reaching out to people. I mean, like that's basically it. But mostly word of mouth. People see who we are and the kind of people that we are, and they want to work with us.
No, yeah, that's always the best form of marketing too. So I was also going to ask, like you kind of touched on it a little bit there. So what role has the internet played in getting new customers or in just business in general?
It's been integral. I mean, I think since the advent of the internet's been integral to almost any business as far as getting customers. Whether you're selling a bottle of soda, internet has become the primary means of advertising and attracting new clients. It has been for quite some time. It's kind of the rule. Sure, there's radio ads and television and product placement and things like that, but that's And the internet's been integral. It's how we operate as a business too. People don't come to our lab to pick up a piece of paper for their certificate of analysis. We're using the internet to deliver this information to them, store their information, all of those things. That this is it's it's the foundation upon which almost all businesses are built at this point.
Oh, of course. Yeah, and it's like if you had to take a look 6 months to a year down the line, where would you like to see Premium CBD Labs?
I think we'd like to have more locations. We'd like to service a broader section of the industry. And I think that we'd like to have more strategic partnerships with other organizations. And maybe it's not how I'd like to see our lab in particular, but how I'd like to see the industry in 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
That's really going to make the most drastic change.
Oh, I got you. Yeah, which states do you see becoming like a big hub for cannabis?
Illinois is is already a robust place, and there's a number of people who are saying that it's probably going to be the Silicon Valley of the cannabis world. And I don't know if that's true or not, but there are certainly a number of cannabis companies that are headquartered. So there's something to say for that. I think Michigan has the potential to grow robust, and I think if Minnesota gets starts passing things so that they've got recreational and whatnot in their state, that will change things. I'd like to see Wisconsin get bigger, but I just don't see it. There's a lot of hemp growth in these states already. The Midwest states are, generally cultivator states to begin with. California has always been the hub of things in Colorado too. But I see that being big. I think Texas is trying to have a robust hemp program and medicinal program. I don't know how well it's going to do, but I can see the Midwest states kind of picking up a lot of slack. I mean, these states that already have vast fields of soybeans and corn and things like that are massive crop yielding states are the kind of states where we're going to see a lot of large scale hemp growth because the soil is good. There's a lot of farmers that are in these states already that know how to till the land and whatnot. It's a big adjustment to go from growing corn to growing hemp, but I see those states as being significant players in the industry.
Oh yeah, I got you. About in the southern states too, do you see those being big players as well too?
Yes and no. From the science that I've read and some of the stuff that I've been encountering lately, and this is just new to me, so I'm not speaking with any authority on it, but from what I've understood, that stress on the plant and stress on the soil and things like that you find in the more northern states helps with the cannabinoid production. Where in the hotter states, I mean, I know Hawaii was having a big problem with a significant portion of their crop. It grew hot, so they had to destroy it. So I see southern states probably dealing with a lot more of that challenge. And also when you're dealing with higher humidity, areas with higher humidity, you're going to have problems with microbial growth and things like that you probably wouldn't have in drier climates. So I don't know. I couldn't say for sure. Is it possible? Yeah. I mean, there's already some robust grow operations in Georgia and Tennessee, and places like that. So we'll tell. It's hard to say at this point. Everything's wide open and anything can change. So.
Oh yeah, I think one thing that's interesting too are I think in some cities that have down economies where they have rundown buildings and warehouses, they can convert those to grow operations or just have cannabis companies utilize those buildings for that in that regard too. I think it would help those local economies.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep. And another thing too is I know we haven't even discovered all the cannabinoids in the plant. So is there a specific cannabinoid you're excited to hear about, or is that something that's just all up in the air? We'll see when it comes.
No. Straight up, no. I'm not excited to hear about another cannabinoid.
Oh no.
am not unexcited about it. It's like, it's great. They discovered a new cannabinoid. Let's see what it does. Cool. I mean, that's science, right?
Yeah.
You around and find out. So it's the nature of the beast. And the more cannabinoids we find, the more separation that we can see between what they do, how they interact with terpenes, what the entourage effects are between them, those kinds of things. I mean, what I'm more excited about is more research.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Actually, more avenues for research. So that's what I'm excited about. But somebody discovered Delta 10 because there was crops that were in the wildfires that they had fire retardant on, and they wanted to see what was in them to see if they were salvageable. And they found a new cannabinoid based on that. So now we have Delta 10.
Oh,
Great.
yeah.
It's there's a lot of fad chasing in the industry because of this, which is fine, because without that we wouldn't have people being interested in these things. But I'd like to see more understanding based on research. Like, we know CBD does this, we know CBN does this, we know CBG does this. We know Delta 9 THC produces this effect. We know that Delta 8 THC is producing this effect. Those are the kinds of things that we're seeing, but also what therapeutic uses do these different cannabinoids have? And with the legislation and regulations that are being pushed forward now, research.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm excited about.
Oh, cool. And an interesting one thing too, I wanted to ask you: is there a difference in the extraction process for THC, CBD, CBG, CBN?
I'm not an extractor.
I was just curious, like from your experience, if there was like from your talks with the extractors, they have a different process, or it's all the same thing to get the oils.
Every extractor we know has a slightly different process.
Oh, okay. And
so there are some standard processes out there, but everybody's got their own little tweak. So
oh yeah.
And yeah, when you're dealing with these different cannabinoids, there's going to be a difference in extraction between getting CBD out of it or versus getting THC out versus getting CBN or CBG, because they're going to react differently. So there are different extractions, but I can't speak with any authority or with any sense of verity on what those processes are, as I don't deal with them directly.
Yeah. I think
so. Yeah, we talk about these things with clients, but generally when we get into those kinds of conversations, we've got non-disclosure agreements going on.
Oh,
so I couldn't really speak to what those are. I can say that there are different processes for different people, and every single processor has a little bit of a different process to make theirs unique.
Oh, good. Oh, good. And because you were touching too about how you're excited about the research aspect. So like, is there any specific research that it's like, hey, I want this information to be found, or that?
So that, yeah, I have to answer carefully on this too, because the point of doing research is to find out, and not to walk in with any confirmation bias. And that's a big problem. People are trying to find results that back up a preconceived notion about something. Some of the research that I've been following lately, just on avenues for potential therapy or potential medicinal or use issues, not and efficacy, are in relation to otherwise inoperable cancers. So there's some evidence out there that THC has had some effect on glioblastoma, for example, which is generally a terminal cancer, where it's shown that there's been some reduction in tumor size, if not remission. And there's a lot of anecdotal and self-reported evidence on this, but also I'd really like to see like clinical evidence on this, because if that's the case, there's a significant portion of the population that could see a great benefit from the use of THC and CBD for these things. There's other research going on in the treatment of autism that's going on. Not that and I'll take a very clear position on this. I don't think autism needs a cure. I think autism needs support. But there are a lot of things coming from the autistic community that talk about the use of CBD in some adults with autism using THC in ways that they have found beneficial. And I'd like to see more of that self-directed research
Mm-hmm.
From within the autistic community. There is, because I think there's a dearth of that out there, that there's more just supposition and lab studies in mice. Well, mice aren't people. And so what is going to affect a mouse is not going to affect a human the same way. There's some reasonable assumptions you can say, look, it killed that mouse. Well, okay, should probably be careful about using that on humans. Sure, but mice and humans are different. Just like I can eat chocolate all day long and my dog can't. So there needs to be more rigorous study on really what the actual benefits and side effects are. Well, we know it's relatively safe, but it'd be good for us to show some some efficacy and some clinical standards to what's going on instead of just people self-reporting things. But I'd also like to see avenues of research, like overall avenues of research, open up. Right now, Israel is leading the charge in research in cannabis because their legal structure has provided a framework for them to do that. Right now in the United States, if you want to research cannabis and you want to research marijuana specifically, you can pretty much only source it from one place. And I think there's legislation that's being pushed to change that, or may have already, but for a long time that was the case. So we're falling way behind the curve on this. So that's what I'd like to see.
No, Israel's like one of the most innovative nations too for such a small place. Like you see, there are a lot of technologies that come out of there. That's like one thing. It touches on autism too. So like I feel like even other mental health disorders too. That'll be another key thing because some of the traditional pills have had some bad side effects on some people. I know everybody's different, so it'll be interesting to see how that goes.
Sure. I mean, kind of a tangent, but there's a lot of research being done right now with some other of the other psychoactive compounds, especially the psychedelics. So if you're looking at psilocybin, MDMA, DMT, things like that as therapeutic for things like PTSD, trauma-based things, traumatic brain injury, the research on those things is really fascinating.
Oh yeah, I think too. Even with mushrooms, and people like that. Now, there are some places that are trying to legalize that compound as well too. Like those compounds you mentioned. So yeah, it's all interest.
Definitely.
Yep. Is anything else you would like to cover as well too? Whether it's research, just getting a hold of you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm usually reachable on some level. If I don't respond immediately, I'm usually good about getting back to people within a relatively short period of time. I would love for people to come visit us, come talk to us, ask us questions. We love our clients and we love working with them. So you can reach us at premiumcbdlabs.com. Our email is right there. We're usually really quick to respond. You can find us on Facebook. You can find us on Twitter and LinkedIn, as well as LeafWire. So we're there, and we try to be pretty engaging. Oh, we're on Alignable too. So yeah.
Oh, awesome. Oh, you're on Alignable too. Oh,
lots of ways to reach us.
Yeah. And where's your lab located?
The main lab is in Madison, Wisconsin.
Oh, you're in Wisconsin. Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
So are you right by the university? How far away are you from there?
We are on the east side, the southeast side of Madison.
Oh, cool.
So I don't work inside the lab since I'm on the business side of things. I go to the lab, as often as I can, but I don't operate the equipment. I'm not touching the instruments. It's probably a good thing that I don't.
No, yeah, that's a whole nother animal.
Yeah.
I'm curious too. What advice would you give to somebody who's thinking about starting in the CBD or cannabis?
It's good, and especially these days.
Sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry. The internet connection got a little fuzzy there for a second.
No.
So
yeah.
What advice would I give somebody who's looking to get into the cannabis industry?
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. Make sure you're funded first. make sure that you have money to operate before you start trying to make a buck. Make sure that you have somebody else in the industry who's been there for a little while to at least guide you through some of the things that are inherent about the industry and help you make connections. The more people you know, the better you're going to feel about operating within this space, and the more support you'll have. And even get to know your competitors. That's okay. It's okay to know your competitors. It's okay to be friends with your competitors, especially in this industry. Right now we're growing, we're all growing, and there's so much of that pie that we can all grab a piece of, and that's fine. We've got time later on to be cutthroat about everything. Right now, let's lift each other up. Let's do things the right way, try and operate ethically, and be responsible. Don't try and do it all yourself. Gather a good team of people that can, that can specialize on certain tasks. You don't need to be the extract scientist and the marketer and the CFO, and you find people to help you with that and pay them.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, that's some good advice.
If you do it yourself, if you do it all yourself, you're going to burn out. You're going to hate it.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. So I think one thing too you mentioned about the pie. So it's like you can't eat a whole pie by yourself. It's like you're gonna be sick afterwards. So so there is a pie for everybody, slice for everybody.
Yeah, there's enough pie to go around right now, and the industry's only getting bigger. The demand keeps getting greater. The number of products that are being put out there on the market that contain these ingredients is getting bigger. More and more states are adopting programs that are pushing these products into the forefront.
Yeah,
it's a growing and booming industry for a reason, and it's because it's good. I mean, like people use it. It's good stuff. Our position is great. We want to test it and make sure it's legal, but also we want to make sure it's safe.
of course. So yep, it was great having you on, and you're more than welcome to come back for any future interviews.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It was great being here too. You asked some really good questions, and I'm happy to help out in any way. If there's topics that you want to learn about, there's probably topics I want to learn about. I'd look forward to more conversations.
Yeah, sounds good. Thank you again.
No problem. Take care.